In this video, we're going to be talking about stereotypes and intersectional theory. Author Sherman Alexie wrote, "Don't live up to your stereotypes." After reading Indian Education, we saw a lot of his struggle to do just that, and he's not alone. Many of us struggle to fight against or fit into the stereotypes that we feel held up against, and it can be difficult when the media so often supports these ideas. In Unit 2, we read a lot of different urban legends, so it should come as no surprise that urban legends often rely on a lot of stereotypes. In college urban legends, we see a lot of the same characters pop up over and over again. The young, inexperienced, and easily embarrassed female student, the young, confident, and witty male student, and the disconnected, middle-aged male college professor. So if urban legends use these stereotypes so readily, then there must be a purpose to them, right? The answer is a complicated yes. Stereotypes are often used because they are an effective shortcut in storytelling. Rather than having to create an entire character history, I can just point to a stereotype and the audience can infer the rest. Basically, stereotypes allow us to skip character development and get to the action. There are so many genres of film and television that need to limit character development because the audience is more interested in what the characters do and not who they are. And for these genres, stereotypes are often useful, if not overused, tools. This is why every action hero has essentially the same personality and backstory, because it saves time. Similarly, we often have the same types of characters repeated over and over in horror movies. In both of these genres, the characters are way less important than the plot. But that's not to say that stereotyping is always appropriate. We all know that stereotyping is bad when we are referring to real people. But in stories, the people we stereotype are fictional. So what is the problem? When we rely too heavily on stereotypes in our storytelling, like film, television, and books, it can make people start to believe that these stereotypes are actually true, especially when a person's only interaction with certain groups is through the media. This is why it is so important that our media not only be diverse, but also representative of the complex identities that we all have. One question that we see being discussed a lot is how to include diverse and complex characters and stories that also bring in large audiences. And that's a totally fair question. The media is a business after all, and audiences equal money. The good news is that for the first time, media companies are realizing that more diversity in films and television is good business. Movies like Black Panther, Coco, and Into the Spider-Verse broke box office records by appealing to wide audiences. That's not to say that diversity automatically equals successful movies. For the movies I listed, diversity was just one component, on top of great writing, acting, and a budget that allowed these movies to stand out and get noticed. These movies have complex characters that are not based on stereotypes and have interesting backstories that are not defined by a single identity trait. In other words, these characters are intersectional. If you've never heard this term before, let's define what I mean by intersectional. Intersectionality is the interconnected nature of social categorizations such as race, class, and gender. Intersectionality is used a lot in social and political discourse, but it is also really helpful when we are trying to look at media representation and what makes for a good character. Intersectionality is the idea that we are never just one thing. We all identify as a mix of gender, race, sexuality, culture, language, and a myriad of other things that make us a complete person. When we rely on stereotypes to create stories and characters, they are always going to fall short. There is a need for better stories and characters that are complex and multidimensional. After all, real people live within the intersections of categories, and we deserve to be represented.